All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media inside Gillette Stadium here, getting you ready for Patriots versus Texans this coming Sunday. It is a Wednesday edition of the podcast here on Patriots Daily, which means it is a mailbag, so we'll answer all of your questions that you asked over on Taylor's Twitter earlier in just a little bit. Also, we'll do some live questions as well. We now have got a nice laptop next to me. We have the capability to go fully live to check out all of your live questions as well. But before we do, we're going to look at today's practice report, talk about who was there, who was not there at practice today, and also look at some key matchups for this game coming up on Sunday afternoon. For starters, I guess we will do go practice report first, and I want to get to some quotes from Mike Vrabel and Drake May today about this daunting Texans defense. But we will start with the practice report as I pull it up in front of me. Did not practice. Thayer Munford, Morgan Moses, both with knee injuries. Christian Gonzalez back at practice today, limited with the concussion. Hunter Henry limited with a knee. Anthony Jennings limited with a knee. Terrell Jennings, concussion. Harold Landry, knee. Kyrus Tonga, foot. Alex Austin, full with a wrist. So big ones there. Obviously, Gonzo back at practice today, promising, looking like he is in phase 3 to 4 of concussion protocol, depending on how you look at it. And then Hunter Henry, not spotted originally, but ends up heading out there with the knee injury. So Kyrus Tonga as well, back out there with the foot. We saw him at the beginning of Friday's practice, working with some trainers, but now he gets a full, a limited practice under his belt here, getting ready for the weekend. So thoughts on what you saw, and specifically Gonzo potentially being back sooner rather than later?
I mean, it's good news because obviously he was in the red non-contact jersey, so we're going to have to monitor his status throughout the week. But Nico Collins did not practice for the Texans, and that was one that we had to monitor on both sides. So huge advantage for the Patriots there because the Texans receiving corps is already probably going to be shorthanded. And then in the trenches, Kyrus Tonga being back. Huge. We already saw what a huge impact Milton Williams made in his return. Robert Spillane making plays throughout his time on the field last week against the Chargers. So if you add Kyrus Tonga to that mix against a Texans rushing attack that isn't great, they had a lot of success against the Steelers, but they've been average to below average for most of the season. So if you can really have your full complement of the guys in your defensive front, even with Harold Landry still looking like he's kind of banged up, that would be huge to be able to get them back. Now, at the tackle position, obviously not great that you're missing both Morgan Moses and Thayer Munford. Thayer Munford is Morgan Moses' top backup. At least that's what we've seen anytime, or one of the only times that Moses was forced to miss action. Now, Morgan Moses has been as tough as they come, tremendous when it comes to his availability and toughness this season. So we'll see what his status is throughout the week. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes back out there tomorrow, or if maybe he comes out Friday. And as a veteran who, has done this plenty of times, not quite as important to have him out there early in the week when for a lot of other players that would be pretty detrimental. Going through some of the other guys, Hunter Henry been battling a knee, or been really battling injury for quite some time. Not really a surprise. He's still been able to ball out. Anthony Jennings with the knee injury, not great, but they did add Darrell Taylor, to the practice squad. He's likely going to be signed to the active roster. Exactly. That's one that's been giving us some trouble today. But yes, at least you have some more depth out on the edge. Terrell Jennings, great to see him back. Huge. When Dearness Johnson was released, he has been signed back to the practice squad since. But we thought, okay, maybe that's good news for either Alex Austin or Terrell Jennings. Both of the guys, actually good news. Terrell Jennings back at practice in a red non-contact jersey after being on IR with concussion. And Alex Austin was a full participant today with a knee injury. So we'll see if either one of those guys can get back on the roster.
Just want to clarify, wrist for Alex Austin, knee.
Oh, I'm sorry, wrist. I don't even know where knee came from. I apologize.
There's a lot of knees on this injury report. That's why.
For Alex, that's probably exactly what happened. And then Harold Landry, we already know he wasn't really at 100%. Honestly, even in the game against the Chargers, didn't have much of an impact. So hopefully another week being able to rest up a little bit more will be beneficial to him.
Yeah, the Morgan Moses Thayer Munford dynamic here is interesting. As you mentioned, the fact that Munford has sort of been that backup right tackle. You don't know what they would do. If both those guys can't go, it is still very early.
Caden Wallace, right? Caden Wallace or Marcus Bryant would be in the mix.
Low on that right side.
Oh, man, I guess you could. Like that is an option, but in my brain, I see Vidarian as strictly left tackle. So, yes, he would probably be in the mix and really the most likely candidate, but we've seen that he's much more comfortable on the left side. But in this era of the Mike Vrabel, he wants guys to be able to play both. Ben Brown wasn't somebody who played guard last year, so maybe Vidarian's improved behind the scenes. But, yeah, there would be a big question mark of who would replace Morgan Moses.
And I'll add, like you just said, it's super early in the week. It's Wednesday. We've seen Morgan Moses have the NIR rest designation at this point in the week. A lot of times feel like had the banged up knee, put him on the sideline for today and let him get ready and rolling, ready to go. And, we've talked about it. We talked about it throughout the offseason where, we expected Morgan to play maybe 12 games this year. Yeah. He's an aging veteran, what have you, but he's been Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent. I have a strong feeling he'll be out there on Sunday as well. But if Munford can't go, the 6-0 line package might get stunted a little bit. Ben Brown may be out there. Jared Wilson back now with the concussion. So a lot of moving parts still. We'll see what happens. But again, the big one here, I would say, Taylor, is Christian Gonzalez being back, looking like he's going to continue moving forward. Fingers crossed in that concussion protocol. He'll have to continue clearing those steps to be back out there. We'll see if he sheds the red non-contact jersey tomorrow. If he can go versus if he can't. Specifically, I know since we're not going to talk about it in our matchups, and I know we hit it a little bit yesterday, but Gonzo out there versus not against this Texans team with Nico Collins likely not out there. How much of an impact do you think Gonzo can make should he be out there against the Texans?
I think it's huge. And I want to start with Charles Woods, who has gone in for Christian Gonzalez at times. He's gone in for Carlton Davis when he's had to miss time during games. He's been solid. I think there was like one play a few weeks ago where he slipped at the top of a route. But other than that, when Charles Woods is out there, you don't really hear his name called, which, as we know, at the cornerback position is generally a positive. But if you have Christian Gonzalez and your full complement of cornerbacks, that's a situation where I think the Patriots really could dominate on the defensive side of the ball, because you're talking about Xavier Hutchinson and Jaden Higgins on the outside. No disrespect for either of those young players, but neither one of them is obviously Nico Collins. Christian Gonzalez, I think, could shut down either one of those guys. Carlton Davis, I think Jaden Higgins could make some plays against him, but I really think those outside receivers could have a very quiet day if the Patriots are at full strength on the outside. And we've talked about Marcus Jones, Christian Kirk. That could be a pretty interesting matchup because Kirk is a pretty explosive player, but also Marcus Jones against Ladd McConkey looked pretty good. A couple scrambles and zone plays where Ladd McConkey was able to find space. But I think if the Patriots are able to have Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones out there, it's going to be a really tough day passing for the Texans offense. Might have to rely even more on Dalton Schultz than normal.
We'll flip it to talking about the Texans defense right now because we have 3 key matchups for you, 2 of which involve that daunting side of the ball in Houston. Before we get into it, Mike Vrabel and Drake May both spoke about facing off against these Texans. Here's what Vrabel had to say on what he called facing off against the best defense so far in football.
Yeah, of course. They have great talent, great scheme. They play hard and respect how hard they play. And they're just not only talented, but they have a play demeanor that I can appreciate.
Drake May also spoke about the challenges against these Texans defense. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, they fly around. They're relentless. They're great up front. They're great in the back end. They got great linebackers. They're great all around. They're great coaching. So we got our hands full, and we know it's going to be a tough game. We got to play the game the right way, and we got great players all around. And man, all the hype is fulfilling and is deserving on film. What I've seen. So we got to be able to stay ahead of the chains. And I know we got a tough task, but we're gonna have our hands full and play complementary football, and from there just try to find ways to pick up first downs and score some points.
No secret in this building that Texans defense is scary. I've used the word daunting all week long. I feel like that's the one that keeps coming to mind.
Tenacious,
terrifying. They got it all. They really do. They're elite on all 3 levels of that defense. The one we're going to start with in our key matchups here is the front, is that defensive line, the edge rusher, specifically against the Patriots tackles. Because Will Campbell, we know he struggled a little bit last week. Morgan Moses up and down as well against the Chargers. They're obviously a different beast. You have Danielle Hunter, you have Will Anderson, those guys. Will Campbell spoke in the locker room today, talked about how how impactful those 2 guys are. He mentioned that he actually played against Will Campbell in college, Will Anderson in college.
That's going to be a tricky one this week.
Yeah, it is. And then he watched Danielle Hunter when he was at LSU when he was a kid in Louisiana. So a couple connections there. Campbell also, interestingly today, asked about the hate and the the criticism of his play last week, spewing on social media. He gave quite the answer back. So here's what Will Campbell had to say on that one.
I don't give a shit what anyone says, to be honest with you. It's easy to, type behind a Twitter account that, is fake. As I hold myself to the highest expectation of anybody, I want to be perfect. And it's hard for me to, get told that it's going to be hard to be perfect. But, the Chargers, obviously I didn't pitch a shutout. I had 2 or 3 plays that I wish I could have back. But that's $300 million in defensive ends.
So if you're going to talk shit about Will Campbell, Make sure to do it behind a real Twitter account, not a fake one. But
none of you eggs.
Yeah.
None of you eggheads.
No eggs, no burners for Will Campbell. Put your name on those comments. But no, seriously, love the answer for him. I think that he's had that attitude all season long. But another tough test this weekend against Houston. How do you see Patriots tackles matching up against those Texans edge rushers?
It's going to be tough because these guys line up on both sides of the ball. Now, on early downs, run situations, you're mostly going to see Will Anderson to the offense's right side, where he's probably going to line up against Morgan Moses or whomever is going to be on that side of the ball. Will Anderson, now both of these guys, Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter, can win with power. They can win inside. They can win outside. That's what makes them so terrifying. They are very skilled on top of being powerful and very explosive. But Will Anderson, his bread and butter really is his power rush. So on some passing situations, you will see Will Anderson flip to the other side and go up against left tackle Will Campbell. That is a matchup I don't really love because of the fact we've seen Will Campbell struggle against power more than anything. He did have a loss on the outside last week. That's not very common for him. He typically does a very good job protecting his corners, but we have seen him get pushed back against more powerful edge rushers. So that's a matchup I really don't love, and I think it's going to make it very important for Drake May, when Will Campbell doesn't have chip help, to make sure he's getting that ball out on time, something that Drake May stressed and said he can't hold on to the ball like he did on one of his fumbles last week. And then Daniil Hunter, that's the guy, been in the NFL for so long, the scariest arms I think I've ever seen on a human person, but he's got a lot of the more finesse, where I think the top key for him, again, he has power and all the other things as well. His inside rush is where you see a lot of the quick pressures. So a lot of the emphasis for these Patriots offensive linemen, especially under Josh McDaniels, has been protecting inside out. It's one thing if you lose to the outside, because all right, maybe you can recover and push the guy around the arc and force him to work harder to get to the quarterback. If you lose inside, the quarterback is going to have to do it on his own, because there's really no way to recover. So it's not going to be easy against either one of these guys. But against Will Anderson, make sure you are sturdy against power, and against Daniil Hunter, you got to make sure you're protecting that inside. There's never going to be a perfect plan against these guys, but really those are the things I'm going to be looking out for the most. And when it comes to the interior, that's really where I feel like the Patriots should be pretty well off. Now, when you look at last week, Tyler Tart gave Jared Wilson specifically a lot of trouble. I actually think that Tyler Tart and Sheldon Rankins for the Texans are pretty similar players. Build-wise, they're almost identical, which Brian Hines and I actually found out right before. I was thinking, I feel like skill set-wise, they are pretty similar, because these are some big-body dudes who move extremely well. Both dudes who can whip out a spin move out of nowhere that you wouldn't expect from guys of their size. So the interior does have some explosiveness, but I also think the Patriots will be able to hold up a little better. And honestly, when it comes to this Houston pass rush, they aren't quite as explosive as people might think, only because when you think of a terrifying pass rush, you're thinking of like, or at least for me, I think of like the Broncos in 2015, where you had a bunch of guys like DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller who had insane get-offs and could smoke you off the line every single down. And even on the interior, they had that. I think that, the way the Will Anderson wins is mostly with power. That's not really a way to win instantly. Daniil Hunter is more of that guy, and I don't think they have a ton of those types of pass rushers. So I'm not saying that you don't need to worry about the Texans pass rush. You absolutely do. But because they're a little more simple, they're not going to throw as many games at you. On third downs, they will send blitzers. That's something I think is kind of flying under the radar. They'll throw some pressure packages at you, but the Patriots have done a pretty good job picking those up. It's really the stunts that have given them trouble. And again, the power with Will Campbell and even Jared Wilson at times. So if the rookies can play a little bit better than they did last week, no quick losses for Jared Wilson. Will Campbell just try to be a little bit more sturdy against those power rushes. I do feel like the Patriots will be able to have success against a Texan secondary that, will very talented, has some holes I think they can exploit.
Perfect way to segue. It will be a difficult, obviously, task to stop those guys, elite talents on that side of the football. Hard to expect, two rookies to really turn it on once again next week, kind of bouncing off last week, but we'll see if they can do it. We will talk about that secondary in just a second here against these Patriots wide receivers. But first, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks, because this episode and every episode of Patriots Daily is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every single weekend and elite basketball action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. They have a new feature now on Prize Picks. It's called Early Payouts. So even if your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. They also have new social feed features on Prize Picks, so you can share your Prize Picks with your friends, copy lineups from winners with a single click, and so much more. Prize Picks now offer stacks as well. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. So if you want to pick more on Steph Curry's points, 3-pointers, and assists, you can do that all in the same lineup. So download the Prize Picks app today, create an account, and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Shout out Prize Picks. Thanks as always to sponsoring this video and every video here on the channel. We will have plenty of Prize Picks lineup coming for the divisional round game on Sunday afternoon. Now, Taylor, before we actually move on to these Patriots wide receivers in the secondary, we're talking about the pass rush, that front. Patriots have had success running the football lately. Ramondre Stevenson has looked solid. Travion Henderson up and down the last couple weeks, but they've been able to, get some push from the run game. Drake May talked about staying on schedule today. Do you think this Patriots team can be diverse? Do you think they can get the run game going on top of trying to get some potential stuff going in the pass game?
Well, this is going to be a strength-on-strength matchup this week.
Okay.
That's a really good point because Drake May emphasizing you got to stay on schedule.
Right.
Easy way to do that is to run the ball effectively. The Texans have, though, had one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Not only do they stunt and slant inside a lot, that's one place where when you talk about kind of they do what they do, the run game is where you do see them start to exchange gaps pretty frequently. That's so they can get a numbers advantage up front, cause disruption, and allow the second and third levels to rally to the football. And when you look at their run defense tape, the speed at which defenders on the backside close is truly terrifying because when you get that disruption, if there's any hesitation from the backs, that can end up being a deal breaker and turn what could be more of a positive gain into a very short one. But I do think there are certain areas where the Patriots run game will be able to have an advantage. First of all, this is a very aggressive run scheme. What does Josh McDaniels like to do against aggressive run schemes? He likes to run draws. He likes to run trap wham, where you kind of have guys come up field, and then you have a puller coming from the other side. Wham! Take those guys out of the equation. When you do see
Chris Berman in here.
Just like I was trying to channel my guy. But when you do see teams run effectively to the outside, that's usually what it is there's some element of misdirection, or you have a pulling lineman from the same side as the run, kind of catching those edge defenders, Neil Hunter and Will Anderson, off guard, and that's a lot of where that success comes from. And if they want to run downhill, again, the draw plays for one, get them running upfield, and you go right past them. But also, Tommy Togiai, I hope I'm getting that right, their 3-technique defensive tackle. First of all, impressive player and a big reason they're so successful against the run. He is impressive coming from the backside. When you try to get out in front of him on some outside zone concepts, he does a great job winning against those matchups, but he's 290 pounds. You've got Mike Nwenu and Morgan Moses on that right side, 2 guys that are well over 300 pounds. I think that if you can combo and run directly at Tommy Togiai, I think that's a way that you can have consistent success. We know the Patriots, they want to run blast with Jack Westover leading the way up the middle for Ramondre Stevenson or Travion Henderson. I think that downhill scheme is going to be where most of their success comes from, but we also know the Patriots do not want to be one-trick ponies in the run game, so when they do incorporate some of those outside zone concepts, I'd like to see them use some of those surprises and trap or wham Will Anderson and Neil Hunter, because those guys, for as great as they are as pass rushers, they are also very stout run defenders, and you can't just expect, I'm going to block them with an Austin Hooper or Hunter Henry, because respectfully, that shit ain't going to fly. And also, if you are running towards them, maybe some misdirection, like a zone run where you go away from them, then cut backside. Make sure you have concentrated double teams. Again, these guys are ferocious. So if you want to mess with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, make sure you're getting extra bodies on them, or just trying to do something that slows them down so you can get that block and get past the line of scrimmage. And again, concentrated double teams on Tommy Togiai. I think that's recipe for moving the ball on the ground.
All right, keeping it on the Patriots offense versus the Texans defense. Moving into the secondary, Patriots wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, you guys know the group, Kyle Williams and all those guys. Playing against another elite secondary here in, Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, all those guys. They have one of the better secondaries in all of football there in Houston. Should they be able to protect Drake May in this instance? How do they get the ball downfield? Is it a short game? Is it a deep game? How do they attack this secondary? And what matchups are you looking for between the Patriots wide receivers and those Houston cornerbacks and safeties?
Well, they're definitely going to have to be careful, because some guys I really think I would rather them avoid. Kamari Lassiter, from what I've seen, I haven't watched all of the Texans tape. He's the guy that honestly scares me even more than Derek Stingley.
All right.
He does a great job attacking from zone coverages. He really doesn't let guys get behind him very often. often. So when you talk about trying to dial up or manufacture some shot plays, he's not a guy I want to be messing with too often. Also, Azeez Al-Shaair, who Mike Vrabel actually had a ton of really nice things to say about. Shaair and Vrabel spent 1 year together in Vrabel's last year in Tennessee back in 2023. And Azeez Al-Shaair is a guy who entered the league as an undrafted free agent, and one has a great relationship with Vrabel. He said they still talk, and he knows how much that Al-Shaair has meant to Vrabel in his life. But also, he's developed into one of the best inside linebackers in the NFL. And he's not going to be in coverage in man very often, but he is going to be a spy in those situations. So Drake May knows he's going to have to be careful because those linebackers want to take your head off. So Azeez Al-Shaair, if he's in zone coverage or if he's a spy, you got to make sure you're not really testing him too often. That said, the vulnerabilities. Now, these are guys that you're going to have to make sure you're testing in certain situations, but I think there could be advantages. One, might sound counterintuitive, Derek Stingley. Now, obviously, second time in a row that he has been a first-team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler, so I probably sound like a total idiot right now. And I will say, from zone coverage,
he's a very respected defensive back. That's
exactly
what that comes
and
from.
He deserves it because as a zone corner, he's fantastic. He has great ball skills, great instincts. He's very good from those types of coverages, and that's where he's had a lot of his success and ball production. But in man coverage, he has not been as reliable, has one of the lowest man coverage grades among cornerbacks. When you look at a lot of different stats like yards per catch allowed, I think he's tied for some of the most catches of 20-plus yards from man coverage allowed. Sometimes stats can be deceiving, and I will acknowledge, I'm not saying you throw at Derek Stingley every time he's in man necessarily, but he has let receivers get behind him at times. Now, I know he battled an injury at some point. It was an oblique, so I don't know how much that affected him. But even recently, there have been some times in man coverage where people have had success against him. Kayshon Boutte, I'm sure a lot of people's immediate thought when they hear Derek Stingley, if you're a Patriots fan, is Kayshon Boutte, his former LSU teammate, getting behind him for Drake May's first career touchdown and flipping field position before halftime in May's career debut. So whether it's Kayshon Boutte, whether it's Kyle Williams, especially Kyle Williams, I do think there may be some shot opportunities in man coverage for Derek Stingley if you can get over the top of him. Also in that secondary, Kalen Bullock, who is a very impressive second-year safety, a guy where you also have to be careful because moving backwards, he does a great job tracking and attacking the football in the air. But I have noticed, especially against the Colts, they were able to use play action and post routes where Kalen Bullock, a lot of the times in there, it's a scheme where they run different things, but a lot of early down cover three, especially if the Patriots come out in base, they might play cover three with man coverage to the weak side of the formation, which puts Kalen Bullock in a tough spot where he's got to cover a ton of ground as that post safety. We've seen the Patriots try to get Demario Douglas involved in that posty kind of route that he caught a big pass for against the Saints. Team's done a better job defending it, but I've seen the Colts and some other teams have success isolating Kalen Bullock in those situations. The Colts actually beat him once with Josh Downs, then later had a double post where in front of him, Kalen Bullock came down to attack an inbreaker, and Alec Pierce was open for a post right behind him. So that's another area where you may be able to get some shot plays off. And finally, Henry To'oTo'o, another one I hope I'm pronouncing right. I'm sorry, I do not watch a lot of Texans games. Most of my stuff is on the film where you can't hear any of the announcers. But Henry To'oTo'o has given up some big plays to running backs downfield. There was one against the Broncos, had a running back come out of the backfield, very similar to Ramondre Stevenson for a touchdown. Also, Ashton Genty beat him on a vertical route from an empty formation, just got right behind him for a long gain. So those are some opportunities that really stood out to me looking at the tape. And even some seam throws or some throws in the intermediate part of the field over the middle where quarterbacks were able to use their eye discipline to kind of confuse To'oTo'o and throw behind him. So those are the three guys I'm really going to have my eye on when it comes to how the Patriots can generate more of their explosives in one-on-one situations. But I also think this will be similar to last week against the Chargers, another team that in passing situations likes to run a lot of quarters and split field formations where those are trying to take away the intermediate middle. A lot of people think quarters, they're trying to stop the deep ball. If you have seams, digs, crossers, which we know the Patriots love, it allows safeties to hammer on those very aggressively and force you to take a big hit if you're going to try to catch a ball in their territory. Instead, what we saw Drake May do was try to attack the outside with some of the hole shots, those vertical stretches we saw, the game winner to Hunter Henry, those kinds of concepts. So expect a lot of the downfield stuff to come outside of the numbers. But again, if they can create those one-on-one matchups, I think it's going to be Derek Stingley, Kalen Bullock, and Henry To'oTo'o.
All right. Great pronunciation. I
tried my best, brother.
It's in there. I remember doing draft prep on him out of Alabama and reading that all the apostrophes. It's like We need pronunciation guides everywhere, all the time, no matter what. Toa, we'll take it. Finally, last one here. Final matchup here, Patriots versus Texans. Flipping it to the Patriots defense in this Texans offense. Patriots pass rush. They bring in Daryl Taylor. Daryl Taylor. Thank you.
Yes.
See, we need pronunciation guides everywhere. It's too bad. Daryl Taylor. They've also struggled a little bit in the pass rush department. Last week they got after Justin Herbert with 6 sacks. But Harold Landry up and down. Caleb Chason, as you mentioned, I think the word was opportunistic last week against the LA Chargers. So how do you see this Patriots pass rush attacking CJ Stroud? Can they get after him? Obviously, you have old friend Trent Brown on the right side. Didn't practice today, but he is more of a rest candidate, I believe, on Wednesdays. Guy likes his rest, but we won't get into that. How do you see the Patriots getting after him? Can they get after CJ Stroud, or do you think they're going to struggle getting him off of his spot?
Well, it's going to be tough because CJ Stroud, as we mentioned in our show yesterday, has one of the fastest average times to throw in the NFL and one of the lowest pressure to sack rates. So this is not a guy who's easy to take down. We also know the Patriots last week obviously was an outlier. They don't get a lot of sacks, but they do a good job generating pressure, especially in long yardage situations or third downs. Now, if CJ Stroud and the offense are on time, obviously you can take away some of his first reads and give your pass rush some help. But the fact that he gets the ball out so fast and the fact that the Patriots pass rush hasn't been great in early down situations, I think you got to get these guys off base, whether it's a run stuff, whether it's, just getting an incompletion and force them into second and long situations. Like those are the types of things that will put the pass rush on the front foot, and that will allow them to have their stunts and the different situations where Milton Williams, you can scheme him some one-on-one matchups. And that's where the advantage is. Because I think Ed Ingram and Titus Howard, I don't think either one of those guys can block Milton Williams or Christian Barmore on a consistent basis. And if you can create one-on-one matchups with Jake Andrews against those guys, I think you could be cooking with some real gas. And also, Daryl Taylor, I think the explosiveness that he could potentially give you on the edge. Now, he hasn't been in the system. I don't want to put too much expectations on him, but he's a veteran, and he's had a lot of success in this league. And Anthony Jennings' sack came more from, a line game. You haven't seen these Patriots edge rushers win consistently in their one-on-one matchups. Daryl Taylor is someone I think who can do that a little bit more, and he gives you some versatility.
Should have a chip on his shoulder this week as well.
And
want to get after that team? They just cut his ass. Come on.
And he knows the Texans offensive line pretty darn well from the summer, and obviously all the time he spent there. So I do think that the Patriots pass rush, if they can get after CJ Stroud, that's where this game could start getting into ugly territory for the Texans, because CJ Stroud has a tendency to go backwards in the pocket when he feels pressure. That is one of the worst tendencies a quarterback can have, because one, takes a lot of zip off the ball when you're going backwards rather than transferring and being able to put all the power into the throw. And not only that, but it creates situations where edge rushers have an easier path to the quarterback, because rather than going around him and having tackles being able to push him around the arc, CJ Stroud is basically just standing right there, and tackles are kind of in no man's land with nothing that they can do. So if you can get that pass rush, CJ Stroud's going to make mistakes. He's going to give you some opportunities. That's what I think is going to be the key to this game. And if the Patriots can get out to an early lead, I really do think, I don't want to be disrespectful because I think the Texans are a ferocious team. There's no adjective for them. But at the same time, I think if you force CJ Stroud in a position where he has to throw and the Patriots defense knows and can pin their ears back, use cover zero, send blitzes. CJ Stroud is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL when he's under pressure and when he's blitzed. If you can get him in those situations, I think that's a recipe for the Patriots defense to potentially dominate, especially given, again, the Texans run game was better last week, but Patriots run defense also looked a lot better. So if that kind of is a wash and the Texans run game is not the story of this game and you force them to throw a lot, I think that's good news for Mike Vrabel's squad.
And that's what this Patriots offense, and then the Nick Haley offense in Houston, it's predicated on playing on time and getting the ball out quick, getting it in playmakers' hands. And CJ Stroud's a playmaker in himself. But sometimes you saw it last week against the Steelers, and you just mentioned it, when there's pressure in his face and when he has to kind of try and make something out of nothing, he does have a tendency to make mistakes. So if you can get him off his spot, get him a little bit confused, try and make him do more than he's supposed to, he's going to throw you a ball or two, and then that's going to just help the turnover battle, especially when Houston's trying to do the same to you on the other side of the football. So fun chess match coming up here in Foxborough on Sunday. Those are our 3 key matchups. We will answer all of your Patriots questions here coming up in just a second, but I first got to tell you guys about our friends over at Omaha Steaks, because we have the steaks on screen? There's the steaks.
There's the meat.
There's the burger. There's the meat. Starting the year strong is easier and more delicious with premium portioned proteins from Omaha Steaks. Stay satisfied, get energy, and fuel your routine with premium prepackaged protein delivered to your door from Omaha Steaks. And right now, you can taste the difference and get an extra $35 off at omahasteaks.com with promo code Patriots at checkout. Omaha Steaks helped me and my family throughout the holidays, and now they're getting us ready for the new year as well. So let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with promo code Patriots at checkout. Again, that's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code Patriots. Terms apply. See site for details. Also got to tell you guys about our new friends over at Ethos. Please hold. Where's my Ethos? Oh, it's on the screen? All right, I just got to get the read. Sorry. Come on. There's Ethos. I am responsible for a lot that goes on in my family's household, as is my beautiful wife, Kate. But regardless, I carry the responsibility just like she does. And if something happened to me, there are real consequences like rent payments, like bills, everyday bills, emergency funds, things like that don't just disappear. So thinking about that used to be overwhelming, but taking steps to protect my family financially has changed that. And that is why I got life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, and it is 100% online. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. They also have a 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/all32. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/all32. That is ethos.com/all32. ethos.com/all32. Application times and rates may vary. Shout out Ethos. Shout out Mike Giardi in the All 32 podcast if you want to help him out as well. And you need life insurance, head over to Ethos and ethos.com/all32 if you didn't hear me say it 3 different times in that ad read. But we will get to your questions now. I have my laptop set up right here in front of me so we can actually do it for real this time instead of just me reading on my phone like we did the last time live. Taylor, we have a couple preloaded questions here from Twitter. We also have some live ones that we can get to as well. But we will start with, I know we talked about that a little bit, wide receiver matchup, so we'll hold that. Let's get to Drake May using his legs. He was their leading rusher last week with 66 yards. How worried should we be about Drake using his legs this week against the defense? You talked about Azeez Al-Shaair. Has been notoriously dirty. He got suspended last season for a couple games with some very questionable hits. So do you think they should be aggressive with Drake May's legs? Do you think they should ease up a little bit? Do you think Drake's going to be careful in that aspect? How do you see this going on?
I mean, got to be a quarterback and you got to be a football player,
Yeah,
honestly. And that's the way I think of it because, yes, Azeez Al-Shaair is a very dangerous player because he moves very fast and he hits very hard.
And he's a linebacker. Like,
yes.
That's how they play. You play, I don't know if dirty is the right word, but it's
you play on the line as a linebacker.
Yeah, of
like
course.
if you're trying to be ferocious, obviously there is a line to be walked. And sometimes he does step over that line.
Yep.
And Drake acknowledged, these guys are trying to take your heads off. So look, if Azeez Al-Shaair is consistently the spy and you know that, you should not be running. Like if you have certain situations where you're outside the pocket, you think you can get to him, sure, make sure you protect yourself. Obviously, I think Drake will do that. But I'm not sure if this is a game like the last where you necessarily want Drake May running quite that much. But again, the Texans decide they just want to play a ton of man coverage. You got to find other answers for it, but I really think it just comes down to picking your spots. I don't think you want to be as quick to run maybe as last week, but I also think that, hey, if you need to get a first down and maybe you are going to have to make, Azeez miss, you got to stiff arm and just do what you have to do. It's the playoffs, man. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that he shouldn't necessarily, but again, you do need to have something in the back of your head that's saying, all right, maybe I don't try to get another couple here. I got the first down. Let me just get down and protect myself.
100%. All right, taking this one from the live chat here because I do have to shout out our producer, Amit. The question is, so Gonzo was practicing. Where does that put him in concussion protocol? We were trying to figure that out today. Producer Amit, was completely on top of the NFL's concussion protocol today, reading it through, learning how it works. And right now we believe that Christian Gonzalez, and I believe phase 4 of concussion protocol, which includes club-based non-contact training drills. He was out there in practice. He was in the red jersey, but he was out there for, I believe, a half hour, which Alex Barth was actually saying that means he would be in phase 4. If it's less than a half hour, it's phase 3. Since it is club-based drills at practice rather than like conditioning on the side, that turns into phase 4. It's very complicated. If you have any questions, find producer Amit and he will let you know all of it. But I do believe he's sitting in phase 4, not phase 5 yet, because phase 5 would be contact. He would likely shed the jersey. Do we have a graphic coming up? Are we waiting for it? All right, Amit's getting us a full look at the concussion protocol graphic here, so we can run you through that in just a second. But Gonzo was practicing. He looked, I would say, relatively healthy out there. I mean, he wasn't. I don't know how much more or less we can.
You never know with the brain.
You
never know.
And I'm glad,
unless the guy can't walk in a straight line, that's usually a pretty good first sign, of course. But
and I'm glad
he was walking in a straight line. He was fine.
No, he was. Gonzo was good. I'm glad you said that. But it is hard to tell, and it's one of those things. Everyone's super excited right now. You saw him out there. He was in the jersey, reporting that he's out there. But if he comes back with any symptoms, which he should and will report it, he gets back to step 4 or step 3 again. So he has to continue to clear this day after day after day.
I was hoping you weren't going to turn to me and be like, if he still has symptoms, should they play him?
No. Should they just put him out there? So. Should he lie? No, don't mess with the concussions. Very serious stuff.
Brains are replaceable. Football is forever.
They are. Wow, someone's yapping at me for my ad reads. Anthony, you might be able to do the ad reads better than me, to be honest. All right, send them in, and we'll play your pre-records then, punk. Here's the concussion protocol. Yep, here we go. We'll go full screen. I want to try and. Okay, word. Okay, so phase 1, symptom-limited activity. Phase 2, aerobic exercise. Phase 3, football-specific exercise. Phase 4, club-based non-contract training drills. So we're either at 3 or 4 because I guess today technically could be football-specific exercise, but it could also just be considered club-based non-contact training drills, given that it was in a more, again, club-based practice setting versus just the football aerobic exercise. That tells me like off-field conditioning, things like that. So again, a complicated situation, as concussions often are. Some guys like Terrell Jennings missed 4 weeks from it. Others, Travion Henderson earlier this year, clears it within a week. So we will, again, keep you updated, see what happens. But as of right now, believe Gonzo is sitting in phase 4 of concussion protocol. Should he clear it without symptoms, then we will look to see him in phase 5 potentially tomorrow. So, oh, here we go. Anthony. Now he's apologizing. Took that the wrong way. I'm saying I listen to all the CMS. I have them all memorized at this point. All right, fair. I'll give it to you. We appreciate you listening as always. All right. Play calling. What, you like me talking shit with the chat?
Yes, I do.
Michaela Rivera, good friend of the program. You think the play calling this year has been good, or is it good because we're winning games and winning cures everything? AKA, would Alex Van Pelt's offense be this good if he had Diggs, Will Campbell, etc.?
Oh, no. Yeah. No. Yes, the play calling has been very good because Josh McDaniels is one of the most experienced, accomplished, and flat out best offense coordinators in the league. Like, yes, I have been obsessively studying this offense every single week to the point of actually maybe doing more harm than good. But yes, Josh McDaniels' play calling has been fantastic. And frankly, he's the kind of guy where unless it's egregious, I typically will defer to him and think that, all right, like if you make like some of the 4th down, like the sweep that everybody hated, I'm like, well, that worked when they tried it earlier in the season. Right. So I can't really get mad. Like some of the times he's gone back on the run, it's like 2 or 3. I remember there was that one game, the Bills game, I think it was, where there were like 2 or 3 opportunities where they maybe could have run, but also situations where Josh McDaniels has done this for a very long time and had enough success and enough seasons that, like, as an offense coordinator, he's never been bad. So he is a pro. I tend to defer, and really there haven't been any times where I'm like, damn, man, like I understand you're good at your job. That was pretty bad. So yes, I think the Patriots play calling has been very good. And I mean, I think there's even little things that I kind of learned about Alex Van Pelt and play calling from last year that with Josh McDaniels, you never even have to think about. Like calling, a screen when you're backed inside your own 10-yard line. In my novice idiot brain, I'm like, well, it could have worked if it had just been there. Right. And the overarching point is it doesn't matter if it worked. You shouldn't have done it in that situation. So, yes, the play calling has been very good. And I think you see Josh's experience even when you don't see it.
He's the best offensive play caller, I believe, the NFL has ever seen. He's elite. He has it. It's there, right?
I haven't watched the league that long, so I can't say. I personally cannot say, but he's
Bill
damn
Walsh
good.
Might have something to say about that. There's other guys. I think Josh has been as elite as you can be in this aspect. I'm a Josh McDaniels truther, always have been, always will be. But I do think that, the Drake May angle to this, the the year 2 jump, the MVP conversation. Obviously, he has an elite skill set. He can put the ball anywhere he wants to. He runs all around the yard, all that stuff. Josh McDaniels being in his ear, teaching him the offense and having him play on time and on schedule, putting it in the right place, understanding where the reads are and aren't. That's been a key component to this MVP candidacy. I don't see that happening with many other offensive minds in this league. So I'll give all the credit to Josh where we have to. I'm keeping the chat up to date. They're saying something about chat likes the shit talk, by the way. We're Patriots fans. You are Patriots fans. I like the shit talk. You guys like the shit talk. Shit talk me all you want. I don't care. I'll take it. All right. Josh, about to put the please hold. Oh, okay. You mentioned screen passes. So we're going to see a lot of screen passes in this game from Josh McDaniels. And do you think this could be a big Pop Douglas game? Because we saw Pop at a big game last year against the Texans as well.
I don't think we can ever say it's going to be a big Pop game because we're in the playoffs and Pop hasn't really had a big Pop game.
True.
It's really been more flashes. I think the best case scenario is it's more like the Saints game, except no penalties that take away his big plays. Like I could see this being one where Pop is able to rip off a couple of like field flipping chunk plays. Although I don't think he's necessarily going to be a focal point because Jalen Petrie is fantastic. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, as much as I think Pop is a good man separator, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think they should throw Jalen Petrie. I do not think that. I didn't name him earlier, and that's the reason. That guy is one of the ones who scares the shit out of me. When it comes to screens, though, Patriots have not been a huge screen team. Now, part of that is just Drake May. You don't really need him to throw a lot of screens. You can push the ball downfield. And also their personnel. I just, with Travion Henderson, I don't think he has the best feel for them. But I could see a running back screen, a tight end screen. Like I could definitely see them mix in 2 or 3 in this week because of how aggressive the Texans are. Like I said, the draws and the traps and the whams and all that. That's one element, but I think screens are as well. So if you feel like that heat is coming at you really fast and they're not respecting the possibility of a screen, I could absolutely see Josh using that and using that against them. We saw it against the Jets. He threw 2, even though the one obviously was off schedule and Drake kind of threw it and got a penalty.
Especially if it starts early and they just can't figure out how to block those guys. They're going to get overly aggressive because they know they're beating these guys. Then you throw a screen in their face, you gain 15, 20 yards, get a chunk play out of it, and then they don't get as aggressive going upfield. A couple more here before we skedaddle. That's the screens. Oh, this has been a topic of discussion here in the media workroom from @TedLink. Do you think they've been saving the toss runs and sweeps to Travion Henderson? Plays to get on the ball outside worked so well earlier this year, or are they saving some plays to try and get Travion the ball in general?
I think they tossed him, pun intended, because they didn't work.
Yeah.
You had the Tampa game where obviously it turns into a field flipping score, but those tosses, really, when you looked at the run games that they had where they were effective and they did get tackled for a loss or stuffed, and you're looking at it, it's all tosses. Right. It's all tosses. Their inside run has been better. Their gap scheme, that's where their bread and butter is. And I'm glad that they moved on from it because it got frustrating that they tried 2 or 3 times a game and every single time it was a negative, especially considering they didn't have a whole lot built off of it. I could not understand why they kept calling that run because it felt like they were chasing success that they had over a month before that. So I'm not anticipating any toss runs. Maybe I will say Josh has a tendency at times where he'll kind of go away from something for a little while. I think it's maybe just to kind of get it off tape and then bring it back later. I'd actually love to talk to him about that one-on-one if I could to find out why exactly that is. And if there's any nuance to it, I don't know. But I'm not expecting the toss again because it's been so bad. But if Josh was like, let's just take it off the tape so that they're maybe not expecting it and we can, bust it out in this game, maybe. But again, I wouldn't anticipate it. It just has not been a very successful concept for them.
All right. I will throw this one in here from the chat. What are the key matchups for the Patriots defense for the Texas offense? We already talked about that. So if you didn't see it, rewind the podcast a little bit. We started with key matchups. So you get all of those answers right earlier in the podcast. Did want to close with this one. I thought this was an interesting one. When you're covering a Patriots playoff game, how much are you a dispassionate media member and how far are you a fan caught up in the crazy roller coaster ride? Now, I've been thinking about this a lot more in depth this year than I was last year. I grew up in this area. I grew up a Patriots fan, watched every single game religiously. Getting into this industry, you kind of learn and you're supposed to become unbiased or non-biased and understand you're covering a team. You don't root for the team, whatever. People talk about, cheering in the press box and that whole thing we talked about last year a little bit and things of that nature.
Which we did not do. We were proven innocent.
Yeah, proven innocent. But that's a 4-13 season. We're at 14-3 now. We'll talk differently. But no, it's interesting because taken behind the curtain a little bit, talking to like my family, my brother, who we grew up together, again, huge Patriots fans.
I was gonna say, my brother and I, we grew up together.
Yeah, we did. I swear to God, no. But he's texting me through this whole ride, the crazy roller coaster ride. Like, Drake May's awesome. This is nasty. Like, how excited are you? How fun? And I'm just kind of like, it's fun, but it is work, and it's a weird line to toe, because it's almost like, if they lose, I'm not going to be crying on the floor like I was when they lost the 17-0 season or things like that, or be like devastated going to school the next day for 3 straight days. So it's definitely an interesting path to be on. Definitely don't consider myself a fan anymore, just because I've been around the team for so long, and it does turn into more of work. But I've gotten this question a couple times over the last couple weeks. How fun is it? How much? It's super enjoyable, fun seeing a football team come together like this. But as a fan, you kind of lose it working in this industry for as long as we have.
I'd say that I remain a football fan. That's really 100%. The biggest thing for me, is like when I do have my little spasms in the press box, it's usually just because something crazy happened. Like, it'll happen if it's an interception for the other team.
Right.
If somebody does something cool, my football brain is, ooh, that was really fun. I'm excited.
You got them out like that or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. And I'll even say, I'll get candid here. When I first got on the beat, I was not really planning on getting into journalism. So a lot of it was new to me. And there was an element of not even really being a fan, but wanting to bring more of a positive energy. And I think everybody kind of knows that. That was my whole, sunshine and rainbows kind of thing.
Right.
But it's
13 wins.
Right. And because things were so bad at the time, especially, I wanted to try to find the more positive angles and things like that, and just try to be happy and excited when I could, considering how ugly things were. And the victories this year have helped kind of remedy that a little bit, just because I've learned on the job that it is more important than anything to have honest observations and to be honest with the people who follow you. Because I don't think it helps very much if I just ignore the things that are bad
or blow smoke up people's ass for no
reason. Because that's not fair. It leads to some false narratives. And I know I can personally say that I've learned about my responsibility on the beat more and more every year. But really, the exciting part is that we're covering football and we get to work more. That is why when they win playoff games and have success, it's like, cool. I get, I don't have to go to the Senior Bowl next week. I actually get to stay here, stay in the routine, be around, this whole beat that I love. And it's really fun. It's kind of like being at school in a good way. Like when you come back from summer and you're actually excited, you're like, I know we got to go to class, but at least I see all the boys.
Yeah, right.
That part of it I do enjoy. When they win playoff games, it's like, hell yeah, we get to keep doing this. But really, it's more you're excited because you get to cover football and you get to do your job. But being fans of the team, I think, you may root for people because we're humans, but I definitely am not sitting here being like, oh boy, I'm not the Patriots fan I was before I got here. And a lot of that is just the necessity.
And I heard Mike Reese talking on 98.5 earlier this week, and he was so jazzed up about how Sunday went. And I'm like, he's not a fan. He just loves football, and he loves seeing the team build from where they were to what they are now. And he's not rooting for them. It's just, again, you're a football fan. You love the sport. You love the dynamics. You love inside the locker room, how teams come together, what have you. And that's exactly what I think this has been this year. And on the responsibility, like you said, of, reporting on the team and telling the truth and, having unbiased opinions and not blowing smoke. The other thing I think too is sometimes our job is to just give fans what they want, and not in a way that's not telling the truth, but when I think when we do it on Patriots social or Patriots CLNS social media, when Christian Gonzalez posts an Instagram story hey, I'm coming back or something like that, and you post that stuff, I was like, oh, why do you all do that? It's because teams want to know, or people want to know what's going on inside the team, what the players
are, the conduits to the fans.
Exactly. So that's kind of what it is as well. So long story short, we are caught up in a crazy roller coaster ride right now with the Patriots being 15-3 now this season.
I'll take this roller coaster.
100%.
This is after they fixed Superman, and then it was Bizarro when it was really fun.
There you go.
Dangerous.
Exactly. So,
not that the beat was dangerous.
Yeah, we're safe in here now. Anyway,
it was just a battlefield in this room last year. It was crazy.
Totally. All right. Well, this was fun, guys. Thanks for tuning in to our live in-person episode of Patriots Daily here at Gillette Stadium. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to Patriots Press Pass. We'll be back down here the rest of the week, getting you guys caught up on everything Patriots ahead of Sunday's game against the Houston Texans. One more final shout out to Prize Picks, Ethos, and Omaha Steaks for sponsoring this show. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you soon. Peace out, everyone.
Wow!